Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to process and synthesize complex information, giving you that shortcut to being, well, truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into a concept that's intensely personal, but also, I think, universally valuable. The grief bucket list.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting flip on the usual idea, isn't it? You hear bucket list and you think, big adventures before life ends.
Right, skydiving, seeing the pyramids.
Exactly. But the material we looked at today frames this list very differently. It's not really about tasks for living your own life, but specific, intentional acts of remembrance.
Acts designed to help someone move away from what the sources called that endless weight of just static grief.
Precisely, that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah, because grief often feels like this paralyzing force, It's heavy, it doesn't want to shift. And this list, this collection of 50 small acts, it seems like it's a prompt for movement. It's trying to turn that static weight into intentional action.
That's the core idea.
So our mission today is really to pull out the core philosophy behind this and maybe highlight some of the most surprising or actionable or psychologically insightful ideas from what feels like a really gentle roadmap for healing.
And it's a roadmap that's really flexible. It's designed to honor, well, any loved one, really. Could be family, a friend, even a cherished pet, which I think is important to include.
Definitely.
And the emphasis, crucially, isn't on these huge, overwhelming gestures of commemoration.
No grand monuments?
No, exactly. It's about simple, doable things. Acts designed to kind of weave that positive memory into your actual current life. And as one source put it, to spark joy amid the sorrow.
Spark joy, I like that.
Yeah, it's focused on building continuity, really, not just sort of managing an absence.
Okay, let's unpack that philosophy a bit more because that seems to be the engine here. Why small acts? Why is the intentionality piece so important when, your emotional system might feel completely overloaded?
Well, it connects pretty directly to how our brains handle trauma and deep sadness. When someone's just overwhelmed by sorrow, the emotional processing system can kind of short circuit.
Right.
And the massive idea of healing just feels impossible, too big.
Yeah, where do you even start?
Exactly. But by focusing on these small behavioral acts, picking one concrete, immediate task that might only take a few minutes, you actually activate the brain's behavioral system. You're sort of training yourself to move again, gently.
Huh. That's really interesting. So you're almost bypassing the emotional paralysis by giving the system something tangible, something achievable to focus on.
Yes. And the source called the feeling that comes from that, the quiet shift toward peace.
The quiet shift. But I do wonder, does the material warn against maybe confusing this with just distraction? Are these acts genuine engagement with the memory, or are they just a way to temporarily avoid the really deep, maybe painful emotional work?
That's a really important distinction, and the analysis we saw was quite clear on this. It's not about avoidance. It's framed as proactive engagement, specifically designed to keep the loved one's positive energy alive and present.
Ah, the positive aspect.
Yes. If doing the act feels heavy or forced or negative, then it kind of defeats the purpose. The whole goal is to weave their presence into your daily life in a way that feels seamless, natural, not like some burdensome memorial duty you have to perform.
So focusing on what brought them joy helps keep the energy positive.
Exactly. It keeps it connected to their spirit, to the good things.
Okay, focusing on connection and continuity, that makes a lot of sense. So now that we sort of get the why behind it, let's jump into the acts themselves. We've kind of grouped the list into 3 main themes to cover different aspects of remembrance.
Sounds good. We can start with theme 1, rituals and sensory connections. These feel like the most intimate acts. They're really about grounding the loved one's presence right here, right now, in your immediate physical world through your senses.
Yeah, these seem designed for that immediate, almost visceral recall. The source really highlighted finding and listening to an old voicemail or maybe a recording of their voice. That sound. It's just so uniquely powerful, isn't it?
It really is. And there's a reason these sensory acts are often helpful early in grief. Things like smell and sound, they access memory pathways that can sometimes bypass the cognitive filters that get, bogged down by sadness.
Ah, they hit you more directly.
Yeah, kind of instantly. And that's why things like lighting incense or diffusing a scent that reminds you of them, or even just brewing their favorite tea or coffee and really savoring it mindfully, these are highly recommended.
It transforms something mundane like making coffee into this sudden, almost effortless tribute.
Precisely. And then you have the more physical connection, like wearing a piece of their jewelry or maybe an item of their clothing for a day, that tactile comfort.
Hmm.
But I think maybe the most beautiful and subtle act in this group was that unique ritual. Just whispering a quiet thank you to them before you go to sleep.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't it? It turns that solitary end-of-day routine into this peaceful, sort of two-person moment of closure.
Okay, so this first theme is really about building that immediate internal comfort and connection.
Yes. And if this theme is mostly internal, the next one kind of pushes us outward.
Right. That brings us to theme 2, legacy, growth, and giving.
Yeah.
And this feels like a really beautiful pivot point where that inward sorrow gets channeled into something external, something living, something active.
Yeah, this shift often feels really important for longer-term healing. Moving from just remembering the past to actively cultivating something in the future.
Like planting something.
Exactly. The clearest example is planting a tree or maybe a flower in a spot they loved. You're literally creating this tangible thing you can watch grow in their memory. It provides this recurring cycle of life and hope.
And I love the idea you mentioned earlier about cyclical acts, like planting bulbs that bloom every season. It's a pretty low-effort commitment, right?
Relatively, yeah.
But it gives you this high emotional return year after year. It guarantees that moment of remembrance without you having to sort of actively manufacture it each time.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a strong emphasis in this theme on carrying forward their passions through altruism or even personal growth.
How so?
Well, things like donating books or clothes or other items to a cause they really supported, or maybe volunteering for just an hour at an organization they admired.
So keeping their values active in the world.
Yes. And I really like the suggestions around education, too, like read a book they always recommend you read.
Or even take it a step further.
Yeah, or take a class on something they were passionate about that ensures their influence keeps shaping your own journey intellectually or creatively.
That's a powerful way to continue learning from them, even after they're gone. And we should definitely mention this specific one for pet lovers again.
Oh, yes. Making a donation in their name to an animal shelter.
It just validates that grief for an animal companion is just as deep, just as real, and deserves its own intentional act of honoring.
Absolutely. It acknowledges the depth of that bond. Okay, so from legacy and giving, let's move to the third area, which tackles the isolation that grief can sometimes bring.
Right. Theme 3, memory sharing and storytelling. These acts seem geared towards leveraging community, leveraging connection to sort of amplify the comfort.
Shared remembrance is such a powerful balm, isn't it? And the most common acts here often involve food and gathering, like cook their signature recipe.
Oh, yeah.
And then share it with friends or family, maybe over a meal. Food is just, it's often the quickest way to conjure up a sense of presence, you know?
Totally. And the list seems surprisingly practical about using modern tools, too.
Yeah.
It suggested posting a funny story about them on social media, maybe with a photo, just for laughs and connection.
Yeah, that invitation for community engagement.
But I have to ask, posting humor about loss online, that can feel a bit risky, can't it? Does the source material talk about potential misunderstandings or maybe judgment from people who don't get the intent?
That's a really fair point. And the source's take on it was basically that the intention behind the act is what really matters.
Okay.
If the clear goal is seeking shared laughter and connection, not, seeking sympathy, it can actually provide a crucial emotional release. It's about moving beyond only somber reflection towards remembering the joy, the funny moments together.
Got it. So it depends on the spirit of the sharing.
Right. And if that feels too public, there's a lower stakes option. Just send a private card to someone else who misses them. Share a positive memory just between the two of you. It acknowledges the shared grief without any public scrutiny.
That makes sense. And for a more structured way to pass things on.
There's the idea of writing down, say, 3 things you learned from them, and then sharing that wisdom, maybe with a child or a younger person.
That feels like a very tangible, almost generational way to address the loss and continue their influence.
It really does. And technology comes back in here, too, for creating these shared archives. You could compile a digital album on your phone, sure, for easy scrolling through memories.
Yeah, lots of people do that.
But it also suggests maybe using online memorial tools. The sources mentioned services like a life portrait, as an example, platforms designed so others can easily contribute their own stories and photos.
So it turns a private collection into more of a community memory space.
Exactly.
Collaborative.
And one last one for this theme, just for a bit of lightness.
Yes. Compile a list of their best jokes or funny sayings,
Huh, okay.
and maybe share one weekly with family or friends. Just a little regular dose of their specific humor.
I like that. So, across all these themes, the sensory, the legacy, the sharing, what really stands out is that while this list gives you 50 ideas, customization is absolutely key. The source kept repeating that grief is personal.
Yes, that's such a crucial reminder. This list is a starting point, it's inspiration, it's definitely not a mandate.
Not another to-do list to feel guilty about.
Exactly. You absolutely should adapt these acts to fit your unique story, your relationship with the person. For example, if they loved the ocean but, say, hated gardening.
The source suggests maybe swapping plant a tree for, I don't know, funding a bit of coral reef restoration in their name, or maybe turning that physical cooking session into a virtual recipe swap with relatives who live far away.
Makes sense? Tailor it.
Absolutely. The core principle is just sustained positive action, no matter how tiny, as the source says, that feels meaningful and resonant to you. We have to avoid letting this become another source of pressure. The intention behind it is the real measure of success.
Okay. So, pulling this all together, what does this whole philosophy mean for, your long-term healing journey? We kind of distilled it down into 3 core lessons about momentum and connection.
Yeah, the first big one is just remembering that small steps build momentum. Don't feel like you have to complete all 50 acts or even half of them. Just aim for activation.
Just starting.
Just starting.
Yeah.
Checking off even one intentional act, no matter how small, it creates this quiet little ripple of healing. And that combats the stagnation, that heavy feeling of grief.
Okay, small steps. What's the second one?
Second, connection amplifies comfort. The moment you share a story or a recipe or you do one of these legacy acts with another person, the emotional weight shifts, doesn't it? It goes from being just solo remembrance to shared support.
Right. Don't grieve alone if you don't have to.
Exactly. Reach out, share it.
And the third takeaway.
And finally, evolution is okay. Your grief will change over time. Your needs will change. So it's perfectly fine, even advisable, to revisit this list, refresh it, adapt it to match where you are on your emotional journey.
So what felt right initially might change.
Absolutely. What provided that needed sensory comfort right after the loss might, 6 months or a year later, evolve into more of a need for that external legacy action we talked about. The journey changes.
This whole deep dive, it really shows how these intentional small acts can create this essential, positive sense of continuity. It feels like it shifts the narrative away from just the finality of loss and focuses us more toward the ongoing presence of love and memory and connection. It's really about finding that positive remembrance, isn't it?
It really is. And maybe if the ultimate goal is to weave their presence more seamlessly into your everyday life, we could leave you with this final thought to mull over.
Yeah.
Think back to maybe the simple habits or routines they had. Perhaps they always loved exploring a new local trail on Saturdays, or maybe they never missed doing a few morning stretches.
Little things.
Yeah, little things. What new, small, positive daily habit inspired by them could you maybe adopt now? Not necessarily as a big memorial act, but just simply as a continuation of something beautiful that they started. A way to integrate their light, their energy into your own daily rhythm.
That's a really lovely thought. Something to definitely think about as you continue on your journey. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.